Welcome. What's your name? Where are you from? Just introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Jake.
가수가 되고 싶어.
안녕하세요. 저는 이번 공채7기 5.
My name is Sherry Huang.
Hello, my name is Ella Yan.
안녕하세요. 제 이름은 따찌 신수입니다. 안녕하세요. 제 이름은 따찌 신수입니다.
So my name is Sherry Huang. You can call me Sherry.
Hello, my name is Jake.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
There was once a time when K-pop felt untouchable. Not because it was perfect, but more because it was controlled. Every performance, polished. Every interview, media trained to death. Every idol was carefully selected, refined, and packaged with a pretty bow on top. And for a long time, that worked. Until recently. The K-pop system was never about music. It was about branding, soft power. Maybe that's why the cracks are starting to show now. And honestly, I think that's the part a lot of people don't really talk about lately. And while the whole Katseye situation and the conversations around Manon originally pushed me to make this video, this is not really a K-pop drama video. There are already hundreds of people online talking about Katseye and Manon, but this video is not really about Manon. Not entirely. It's about the system behind her, the companies behind all of this. Because at the end of the day, these companies set the standards and the intensity. They decide how far things go and everyone else follows after them. And once you stop looking at K-pop as just music and start looking at it as an industry designed for scalability, a lot of things are starting to make sense now in regards to today's conversations around K-pop. What should we expect when a system designed for one culture gets stretched across the entire globe? And more importantly, what gets lost in the process?
Over the span of 3 days, the contestants slept for about an hour per day.
K-pop idols are treated as commodities that need to be polished and presented as consumable to fans.
You missed a lot of training. Can you talk about why?
지금까지 샤샤였습니다. 감사합니다.
BTS wanted to flatter white people while telling a story that was originally primarily about Black and Asian struggle.
While K-pop draws from street dance culture, it lacks the soul that makes street dance what it is. What people call K-pop dance isn't actually a distinct dance style, it's commercial choreography.
But are we forgetting that K-pop is literally what happens when you take black art and remove the black to make it more palatable?
But over the years, visuals seem to be all that matters, and has made the genre superficial and hollow, much like the trend cycles we see on TikTok.
Why does Manon think she's better than us? Why doesn't she work as hard? Why does she get to opt out?
To me, this more sounds like he wanted to do something, we didn't agree with it, so now he's leaving.
Of course she's playing victim. Of course she's pulling the race card. Proof, anti-blackness, and misogynoir. Y'all are making up words. She's not even black.
Hey, welcome back to Sid's Films. It's me. It is indeed 12 a.m. in the morning that I'm filming this video. I'm a little insane, okay, might be. With finals finally over, I have a lot more time on my hands, but in the background of it all, there's been a lot of chat about K-pop. With BTS's new comeback that people may or may not like, and the ongoing rabbit hole of Manon and the fate of Katseye, it's like an insistent buzzing in my ear that I really can't ignore, and I didn't. Hence why I'm here today. And that may be due to my last video. Thank you for 1K, by the way. In my recent exposure back into K-pop, I have quickly realized why I'm not that involved in it anymore. Because lately, it feels like every other week, there's another controversy, another survival show, another conversation about racism and exploitation, another all-out fan war. And honestly, the K-pop community has always been like this ever since I've been exposed to it, so there's not really no surprise in regards to any of these topics I just listed. But I think a lot of people may be overlooking a very specific aspect aspect of the K-pop community itself, the K-pop industry itself. Before we get into it, a few PSAs that I must state. As stated in my last video, I am an American fan looking at this through a Western gaze. I am not a K-pop controversy channel. I am not a drama channel. Why yes, I have been on a K-pop wave, and why yes, I'm here to spread my thoughts and opinions. That's really where all of this starts and ends. Since I'm not involved in K-pop anymore, for all the reasons I'm going to list in this video, I believe sometimes being outside the fandom ecosystem helps because you can actually look at the system without immediately jumping into stan warfare. I'm approaching this like a case study because there's usually a bigger pattern beneath it all. I think K-pop is the clearest examples of what happens when culture, capitalism, globalism all collide all at once. And I think the industry may be starting to hit its limits. With that being said, we have to go back to where this actually all starts, not with the idols, but with the companies. Before the fandoms, the photo cards, the survival shows, there are entertainment companies building the industry with military levels of structure behind it. Because what SM Entertainment did in the 90s genuinely did change Korean entertainment. Heavily influenced by the Japanese idol system in 1990s that were booming at the time, while Korean's industry was still developing, Lee Soo-min basically helped industrialize the idol system. Not invent the music, obviously, but create a repeatable formula for manufacturing stars. Recruit young trainees, train them for years, control visuals, control media appearances, control scandals, control fan access, control whatever else there is, control everything, really. And eventually other companies started to follow. Regarding the big three, each company had a whole persona. YG Entertainment pushed hip-hop aesthetics and rebellion, JYP Entertainment leaned heavily into personality and accessibility, and eventually HYBE came in with BTS and basically came in with all the globalization power. But to understand why these companies became so powerful, you have to understand South Korea for a second. Because K-pop is not just music over there, it is economics. After the 1997 Asian financial crisis, South Korea started investing heavily into culture exports. Film, beauty, television, music. Film started gaining international recognition, and K-pop companies refined the idol system even further, creating highly polished groups designed for both domestic and international audiences. This culture movement became known as the Korean Wave, or Hallyu. The Korean wave became one of the country's biggest exports. So now idols are not just celebrities, they represent a national image. Once entertainment becomes tied to economic infrastructure, perfection stops becoming optional. K-pop and Korean artists feel fundamentally different from Western music artists and celebrity culture. In America, artists usually become famous first, and corporations figure out how to monetize them after. In Korea, it's the complete opposite. The corporations build the artists first. That's why trainees get scouted at 11, 12, 13 years old. Children, guys, children. And once they enter the system, their lives become optimization projects. Dance classes, language classes, media coaching, literally you name it. Some trainees spend years training only to never debut. Imagine dedicating your whole adolescence to a dream you thought you would achieve, only to get cut right before the finish line. But that being said, these people are extremely talented, so it's not that they necessarily get cut for no reason. There's just so happens to be someone who is just a little better than them, or nepotism. And that's actually what makes the entire system so effective. The training machine actually works. In my last video, a lot of people disagreed with me when I said personas were given to certain idols. I still stand firm on that belief. There was a cold member, a cute member, and companies will intentionally push members into certain archetypes because it made groups easier to market. Like with Red Velvet, Irene, for example, people talked for years about how she leaned into the cold, elegant image. Why, yes, that may have been a part of her personality. At the same time, it was easier to market because everybody loves a cool queen. You notice even authenticity in K-pop is curated. Not necessarily fake, but curated to be amplified, marketable. And I like to personally believe that K-pop figured out influencer culture before influencer culture was even a thing. Eventually, the world stopped looking at K-pop as just music and started looking at it as a production model, formula of sorts. The goal stopped being make Korean pop music, and the goal swiftly changed into how far can we scale this? How many markets can we enter? How many audiences can we capture? Once expansion becomes the priority, the human side starts shrinking. If the training system builds idols behind closed doors, then survival shows put that process out in the open. Honestly, I think survival shows are one of the clearest windows into seeing how the industry actually works. Because talent shows at the end of the day are not just talent competitions, they are, once again, corporate. Contestants compete, train, perform, get eliminated, and alongside of all of that, there's also narratives that are tagged along them without them even knowing. Some are heroes, some are villains, some are underdogs. Anytime a survival show comes out, I'm not watching it. Why? What is there to see? It's the same every time. Editing becomes everything at the end of the day. What moments get shown, what moments get replayed, what music gets used, and who gets framed negatively. And if you watched enough survival shows, you notice the formula, but obviously people love drama, so they're not gonna stop watching it necessarily. The point of survival shows are not only to find talent, it's to create attachment, which honestly explains why survival show groups never end well. Think X1 from S9, Kepler. Even successful groups often come out of survival shows already carrying insane pressure and fractured fandom dynamics. Because fans are no longer supporting the group as a group, they're defending the contestant they believed in. Katseye is a really good example of that right now. Survival shows also reveals modern entertainment culture in general. People no longer want just finished artists, they want participation. They want to feel involved in the creation process itself. And like I said before, it's really apparent in Katseye. As a longtime K-pop fan, I've always watched survival shows, but fans are more cordial. You know, they'll have their back and forths or tiffs, but this Dream Academy, seeing fan reactions in real time and even after the show has already ended, it is a little different than, you know, what I'm used to. I feel like with Dream Academy and Katseye, a lot of netizens are just a lot more brutal. We can also factor in that Dream Academy was not just trying to build a K-pop group, it was trying to globalize the K-pop system. Once you start applying the idol system globally, different culture expectations start colliding, especially around race. I think the conversations around Mana say way more about the system itself than they do about her personally, because time and time again she kept getting labeled as lazy, not committing enough, not working hard. And whether intentional or not, it started echoing the stereotypes that Black women have to deal with in professional settings. The idea that they have to work twice as hard as everyone else just to get to the same spot, and maybe not even to the same spot as everybody else around them. And before we continue, I kind of want to talk about a lot of the conversations I see regarding Manon being mixed race. I feel like a lot of people are particularly fascinated with that idea. I've stumbled across a lot of netizens discrediting her blackness with the excuse that she's mixed or she's lighter skinned. Her skin may be lighter and her experiences may not be identical as someone who is of darker complexion. I think her experiences are uniquely her own, and discrediting her blackness leaves a really sour taste in my mouth. And while yes, it really grinds my gears when non-Black people talk about this, but I think it's a very interesting conversation when Black people do talk about this. The main issue people are trying to get to regarding the statement, I think what they're trying to hit, only what I can assume, is that they don't see Manon as a representative of dark-skinned Black women. And I believe that stems with the lack of dark-skinned women in entertainment in general and not feeling represented. I think it's important to keep in mind that mixed people, mixed children, because that's how we all start off as is kids, do experience the conundrum of being told to identify with one side or the other. You're too light to be Black, but you are too dark to be white. I feel like a lot of people forget to have cultural humility and cultural competence in regards to skin color. I do believe these ideas may stem from, well, not only colorism, but just the lack of dark-skinned Black woman representation in media in general. Back to Dream Academy, the Western audiences love Manon, but with the structure of the show, she constantly felt like she was positioned under scrutiny. Dream Academy was trying to satisfy multiple audiences at once. Korean idol expectations, Western diversity thresholds, global branding, social media virality, and also parasocial attachments. And I think those things do not always align cleanly. Katseye represents the moment the idol system stopped exporting Korean groups and started exporting the framework itself. And once that happens fully, I feel like there will be a time where the industry stops being K-pop. Well, yes, that saying does sound a little dramatic. It makes sense when you look at all the factors that factor in. Global auditions, international trainees, English heavy music, Western partnerships. I could really go on. This is where a lot of fans start feeling disconnected without fully understanding why. Culture stops growing naturally and starts being engineered for scalability. And I think nowhere is that more obvious than the conversation around dance and sound within K-pop. One of the most interesting videos I watched while researching this talked about cultural commercialization through dance.
While K-pop draws from street dance culture, it lacks the soul that makes street dance what it is. What people call K-pop dance isn't actually a distinct dance style, it's commercial choreography.
At this point, I feel like everybody already knows K-pop draws heavily from Black culture. That conversation is not new. Hip-hop, R&B, street dance, AAVE, fashion. I'm really less interested in debating on the topic of whether it happens or not because it obviously does. What I'm more interested in is this question that this video brought up. What gets lost when culture becomes commercialized? I think that's a feeling a lot of older K-pop fans are feeling right now when they say K-pop feels shallow. Not worse necessarily, just emptier. The video explains how hip-hop and street dance originally emerged from real communities. Block parties, joy, shared emotion. The movement came from lived experiences first. Once those forms entered corporate entertainment systems, something changed. And I think this specific part really stuck with me. K-pop choreography is often called K-pop dance, but technically it's commercial choreography. And commercial literally means designed to sell. Designed for consumption, designed for profit. Which is why modern K-pop often feels optimized for virality first, not necessarily emotional expression. There's a difference between replicating a movement and embodying the culture that created it. I think a lot of people can feel the difference even if they cannot correctly articulate it. It's also why I think a lot of people acted differently in regards to BTS's newest release. Older BTS felt emotionally rooted, messy, raw.
I was initially attracted to K-pop because it seemed like the full package. Vocals, dance, performance, and visuals. But over the years, visuals seem to be all that matters, and has made the genre superficial and hollow, much like the trend cycles we see on TikTok.
Now a lot of people as me feel like their music sounds algorithmically global. More English, more Western radio, and just sounds corporate. And this is where a lot of netizens get mad in regards to defending them because they think criticism automatically equals hate. It does not. You can understand why companies make these decisions while still acknowledging that the art itself feels different afterwards. This happens to almost every artist or subculture that goes mainstream. Once a small community becomes globally profitable, the priority shifts. And now it's less, what are we trying to express in our art? And it's more, what will perform the best? And eventually the original community starts feeling alienated from the thing they helped create, which is why the Howard controversy upsets so many people. So many people is here, so many people is me. Because you cannot heavily profit off of Black aesthetics and Black music while simultaneously erasing Black history when it becomes inconvenient. And people like to make the excuses of they don't know. And that may have been the case for old gen K-pop because they weren't allowed to have phones at the time, but this is different. This is BTS with a massive company behind them and unlimited internet access. They all have their own Instagrams. At some point, we have to stop pretending that global corporations are unaware of the conversations around the cultures they profit from, especially when K-pop companies are very clearly trying to study Western audiences. And to add to that, I think that's what makes controversies like All Day Project or the repeated racism scandals feel exhausting. People act shocked every single time, have a moment to care, and then they go back to not caring. Are we surprised anymore? Like, really guys? This is a huge reason why I'm not heavily involved in the K-pop of it all anymore, because of these exact cycles. When there's demand, companies will create supply. And if Black culture continues being one of the most globally influential aesthetics on the planet, corporations are going to keep commercializing it. The issue in all of it here is that commercialization eventually hollows the culture out until all that's left is aesthetic, the shell. I think K-pop might be reaching a point where some people are starting to notice that it is just a shell, which becomes really dangerous when you remember that humans are still beneath all the branding, because eventually the optimization starts affecting the idols too. I think people sometimes forget that idols eventually become adults. Fans talk about them like they're fictional characters sometimes because there are real human beings living inside this demanding system. When you look past the glamour of it all, the long-term outcomes start looking bleak. I feel like there are basically 3 paths idols end up taking after their contract ends. The first is their successful transition. People like GOT7 members branching into their own successful careers, or someone like Mark Lee somehow surviving the absolute insanity that NCT was. And even Mark is interesting because NCT itself was a corporate scalability experiment. Rotational subunits, expandable branding, different markets, different concepts, and Mark was in damn near every unit imaginable. 127, Dream, U, Super N, he was literally in all of it. I know that man hated to see that CEO knocking on his door. I know he did. What's fascinating is that despite how exploitative the structure sometimes looked from the outside, he still managed to maintain goodwill, at least publicly. The second outcome I could think of is more quieter. The idols who disappear, especially survival show idols. Groups disband, contracts end, and suddenly people who spent their entire childhood training to become idols are just regular people again. Imagine sacrificing your adolescence for a dream that expires before you even hit your mid-20s. And then there's the darkest category, burnout, mental health collapse, and I really do not want to treat these tragedies like internet talking points because these are real people, but it would feel dishonest to discuss this industry without acknowledging the immense pressure attached to it. There's constant surveillance, public criticism, no mistakes allowed. And combine that with parasocial culture because idols are expected to be available at all times, beautiful at all times, marketable. And if they stop being profitable, the system keeps moving anyways.
K-pop idols are treated as commodities that need to be polished and presented as consumable to fans. They are trained to perfection. They are prohibited from dating so that we feel they belong to us. They are all held to one single beauty standard so that many will have to get plastic surgery to look a certain way. There's literally a standardization of product.
And on that note, I like to bring in the Hyphen and Heesung conversations because it stood out to me in regards to the system moving always.
Because K-pop companies are known to be super restrictive and controlling over what these K-pop idols can and cannot do. It became clear that Heesung has his own distinct musical vision and we have decided to respect it. Once again, this isn't K-pop, so this sentence really makes no sense. Like I just said, the concept of a K-pop idol having a solo career while still being in a group is the most normal shit in the world. To me, this more sounds like he wanted to do something, we didn't agree with it, so now he's leaving.
Longtime K-pop fans know that when Heesung left the group to pursue solo activities, it was extremely weird. Idols usually do not leave groups to pursue solo activities while remaining under the same company. If they're doing solo activities, they'll either cut their contract short, go to another company, or if they're doing solo activities, they do it inside the group. Usually, companies want idols doing both simultaneously because it maximizes profit. You see the main theme here, right? Group schedules and solo schedules, more content, more branding, more money. So when people were confused about the situation regarding Heesung leaving, I understood why. Because structurally, it did not make any sense according to the way the industry usually operates. And because fans started noticing things like that, it made me realize that people are starting to notice the machinery now. The illusion of being a K-pop idol is weakening. I think that also plays a part into why K-pop feels different lately. The industry used to feel untouchable because the system was invisible. Now everybody can see the gears moving in real time, which brings me to HYBE, because I genuinely think HYBE represents the future of this industry, for better or for worse. I think HYBE is probably one of the most important entertainment industries in the world right now. Not just in K-pop, but in entertainment, period. With Dream Academy, HYBE figured out something really scary and effective. Fandom itself can be scalable. And once BTS exploded globally, the ambitions of the entire industry changed with them. Companies are no longer asking, how do we export Korean music? Well, we already have the answer to that. They're now asking, how do we industrialize global global fandom. And HYBE expanded pretty fast. I actually have never really seen a company move like this. I will say they had all their ducks in a row. I'll give them a little cookie for that. With partnerships, global labels, tech integration, so much that they have expanded with, the list literally goes on. The company itself starts to feel less like a music label and more like a tech media ecosystem. Earlier we talked about survival shows and globalization. Once you look at HYBE specifically, Katseye starts feeling way bigger than just another girl group. It was never about only debuting 6 girls. This experiment was proving that the system itself could work globally. Not Korean idols, not even for Korean audiences. The survival show structure, the fandom attachment, everything we've kind of touched on in this video, all of it works and it's effective. When you think about it, K-pop is no longer exporting music anymore. It's exporting a framework, the actual system behind idol production. I've been touching on Katseye a lot, but we're watching the industry test whether or not the idol system can survive outside of Korea completely. I honestly think it can. I'm not saying it can't, but I also think it changed the identity of K-pop entirely, because it's not necessarily Korean pop culture anymore. It's just the Korean idol system. But didn't that originate from J-pop? Or is it just slowly turning into something else entirely? I would like to think that HYBE already knows the answer to that, which is why Katseye makes perfect sense strategically. A global girl group built through survival show attachment mechanisms, optimized for Western audiences, while still using K-pop idol infrastructure. It's literally the logical endpoint of globalization within the idol system. HYBE is simply the clearest evolution of where the industry was already heading. Once industries become this large, art becomes second to expansion. And again, K-pop has always been corporate, always. It never has not been. This is not some type of K-pop used to be pure argument. With that being said, that can also explain why modern K-pop feels like concept first, music second sometimes. There will always be another debut, another comeback, another controversy. If you optimize something aggressively enough for global consumption, eventually the thing that made it culturally distinct starts disappearing. I think people are already feeling that. The entire thing starts feeling algorithmic. That can also explain why a lot of people are describing modern entertainment as exhausting. What do they call it now? Media fatigue? That's because nothing has room to breathe anymore. Everything has to perform constantly. K-pop can keep expanding. It obviously can, very much will, growing faster than anyone can really define in real time, which leaves all of us with questions that no one can really cleanly answer. Maybe this was always inevitable. At every level of this industry, the same pattern keeps appearing. Expansion, control, and eventually exhaustion. Because systems built for constant growth eventually run into a problem. Human beings are not indefinitely scalable. The more companies try turning identity and emotion into perfectly optimized products, the more audiences start sensing the emptiness underneath it all. That's why people keep describing K-pop and even media in general as soulless, even when the production quality keeps improving. To lighten up the mood a little bit, I know I've been a little serious. I don't think K-pop is collapsing anytime soon. If anything, it's becoming more powerful globally. But I do think it's changing into something fundamentally different than what it was before. Something more corporate, like I keep going back to. Right now, K-pop exists in a very strange in-between state where it's trying to maintain emotional authenticity while simultaneously functioning as one of the most optimized entertainments on earth right now. Eventually, something has to give. What comes next is not yet defined, but the conditions for change are already in place. The same structures that enabled K-pop's global expansion are now the ones absorbing its own pressure. And whether they hold or fracture will determine the industry's next phase. This is Sydney, and thank you for watching.
Welcome. What's your name? Where are you from? Just introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you.